at Lake Murray. Many of you guys have been here, know all about it, either had a picnic here, maybe rode your bikes or your rollerblades around it, but some way or shape or form, you know about this place. Well, the crazy thing is in the Bible, they talk a lot about lakes. In fact, a lot of the stories about Jesus happen on lakes. And there's this one story in particular where he is traveling with these large groups of people because, well, that happened all the time. People were always following him, wanting to hear what he had to say. And as he was coming to this time, it started to get to dinner time. And so his disciples are like, let's send him home, let's get him going, because people are getting hungry. And so Jesus is like, no. Does anyone have any food? And so they had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And he ended up miraculously, don't even know how he did it, but he ended up breaking it apart, and all 5,000 people not only had enough food, but there was even some left over. Okay, you have to understand, it's been a really long day. Not only interacting with all of these thousands of people, but Jesus had just found out some really bad news about a good friend of his. So right after they got done feeding all of these people and everyone had enough food to eat, he told the disciples, go ahead, get on a boat and go across the lake and I'll meet you over there. And then he said he would stay and dismiss everybody. Now, first of all, let's think about this. It had to have taken a long time to dismiss all 5,000 people. But he did that, and after he took the time to do that, then he finally gets away by himself and he goes up on a mountainside and spends some time in prayer. After Jesus got done praying, he looked out upon the waters because he was going to go join the guys now. But the thing is the boat was right in the middle of the lake. And it was no longer like this calm, peaceful lake that we have behind us. It was dark, the winds have come in, and the boat's getting kind of moved around. And Jesus decided to join them. Not by getting on a boat, but by walking on the lake. Okay, can you picture this? I mean, it's dark, the waves are kind of crashing. They'd been out there for hours. So in order for them to make sure that nothing happened to them while they're on the boats, the guys were taking turns watching. And so imagine it was your time to watch, to make sure everything was okay. And you look out and you look into the deep darkness and the waves are kind of pushing in, you're getting kind of wet, and then you see this figure walking towards you. And the disciples freak out and they're just like, oh my gosh, look, it's a ghost. And immediately Jesus says, no, it is I. Take courage. Don't be afraid. You see, he didn't try to mess with them. He wasn't trying to do these spooky, goofy tricks or anything like that. Immediately, once he knew that they were afraid, he stopped and said, take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. So Peter's one of the disciples, and he was on the boat that night. And he looks out and he sees that ghostly creature coming towards him. And he instantly knows it's Jesus. So he yells out, Jesus, if it's you, ask me to come out on the water. You see, at that moment, he knew for a fact that it was Jesus. He knew that a miracle was taking place. And he did not want to sit on that boat and watch something happen. He wanted to experience the power of God at that very moment. Now you have to understand, Jesus is spending a lot of time with these guys. And his whole point in hanging out with these guys was not necessarily just for them to memorize everything he said. He actually wanted them to do what he said and to do as he did. So that's why when Peter was like, Jesus, tell me to come out on the water, Jesus' response was, come. Peter charged it. He actually took his foot out of the boat and stepped onto the water. And he was able to walk on water, walk on top of the water. And he walked all the way to Jesus and he looked at him as he's walking across. But then suddenly he starts to look around, and because the weather hasn't changed, the waves are still coming up, and he sees the waves and he feels the wind and he starts to sink. But what happens next gives us such an insight into how Peter sees Jesus. Because when he starts to sink, he doesn't turn around and be like, guys, throw me a rope. Instead, he looks up at Jesus and he's like, Lord, save me. So immediately, without any hesitation, Jesus reaches down and pulls Peter out of the water. And he says, you of little faith, why did you doubt me? And they walk back to the boat, where all of the disciples are sitting there and they're just amazed. And they look at Jesus and they're all, Jesus, you must be the Son of God. Jesus wants the same thing for us. He doesn't want us just to memorize and be able to say what he says. He wants us to do what he did so that we, you and me, can experience the full power of God. Just like in that story. Me and you can be a lot like Peter. We can be like, Jesus, I'm so ready to live for you. I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to take chances. And then some things can come in our way, some obstacles, some hardships, and our faith can falter a little bit. But did you notice in the story? When Peter's faith faltered, what did he do? He didn't fail at all in this story. Instead, he put his eyes back on Jesus. He put his eyes and asked for help for the only thing on this earth that could help save him. And that's who Jesus wants to be for us.